Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It is time to have a look at the new helicopters when it comes to the dev server for Alpha Strike. What is kind of interesting about this dev server is they haven't just added a bunch of new vehicles, there's a ton of different mechanics and a ton of different little things to look at. For helicopters, one of the first things is they have actually added in little videos or animations for the modifications. Not a ton of them, but a few of them, just so you can see what they do to the kind of performance of the vehicle. It does also use some of the plain ones that have been around the place too, so overall kind of cool. There's also something else which is coming for the AH-64 series. It is right now on the American Apaches, but it's probably going to be on other Apaches too. And that is, of course, the cockpit being changed, which is really nice. So you can see here, you have this setup, but also this. So you now have a head-mounted display for the Apache. So you can target stuff. You know, you can fire the missiles and then you can have a look around with the head-mounted display and then kind of control it from here, which is really cool. Like, I think overall this is pretty awesome. I don't know if the night vision would work in this mode, but overall I think we could agree that it's kind of a nice look with this head-mounted display in itself. You also have, of course, this too, which is like the standard one that's been around the place for the longest time, and also is pretty useful too. There we go. So yeah, nice little head-mounted display, and also I think it was a slightly updated cockpit for the Apache, at least made it look a little bit nicer. So they've really come far with helicopters. It's pretty crazy how many little additions that they've added. So the next vehicle is unfinished. It's the H-1W. Now, the H-1W is not just coming in for America. It is coming in for America in this part of the tech tree. So between the H-1F and also the H-1Z, it's also coming in for China. And it's going to be after the OH-50AD, the Kiowa Warrior. So both nations are going to get exactly the same thing. There is no difference between the Chinese H-1W and the American H-1W. So when we have a look at this one, we're obviously kind of having a look at both. The H-1W has a bunch of pretty cool factors. First of all, it has the General Electric T700 GE401C. It has the rotary cannon too, the 20mm M197, has a very good RWR on it, and also IRST and OK optics, but not as good as we've seen previously. One of the interesting things about this though is it has a lot of systems to kind of keep it going. So it has the MOR, it has the IRCM as well, it has thermals on it, which is really cool, and also it has access to Hellfires and TOWs. So it has access to standard Hellfires, the good old 114Bs, and then also the AIM-9Ls on the vehicle too. So this Cobra has a ton of stuff, which is pretty nice. Unfortunately, the AIM-9Ls are on exactly the same pylon as the Hellfires, so you can't tell air-to-ground ordnance and also air-to-air ordnance at the same time. You do have some 20mm, some rockets, and all of that kind of stuff, which is cool too. So that is also there for the H-1W. Hopefully in the future you'll be able to take both, but it doesn't really look like it with the way that the pylons are set up. Everything else about it is looking really nice and looking really good to kind of play. So yeah, there's a new helicopter in for America and also for China. For Britain, you have the Wessex, the HU Mark V. And this is a heavily modified version of the H-34. It does have a different engine on it. The Rolls-Royce Gnome H-1200 actually has two of them, which is kind of cool. So it should be a little bit faster than the standard H-34. And then also you have the pilot and the gunner. You do have NBD on this, which is kind of surprising. And you also have the AS-12. The AS-12 is the slight upgrade on the AS-11. It is a Saclos missile, but the main thing is it doubles its firing range. So the firing range of this is way further than the AS-11. You do have the AS-11 stock, so you can bring 4 of them just off the bat, which is really nice, but the AS-12 obviously gives you a little bit more of a kick from the vehicle itself. You also have Browning machine guns, which are attached to the sides too. So you get two 7.7mm Brownings as well to keep it kind of going, which is kind of cool. So not a lot of defensive capabilities, but does have quite a lot of offensive capabilities, which I think is pretty cool. Then it's between the Wasp and the Lynx, so another vehicle in this kind of 8.3 to 9.0 area for the British. And I think overall it's a really nice looking aircraft, and at the same time has some huge exhausts on the side from, you know, the general look. So the other vehicle, obviously we talked about the H-1W for China, but for Israel they get an AH-60. This is similar to the MH-60, but it is the Battle Hawk as it's known. And you may see something which is kind of crazy on this vehicle already. Has a lot of countermeasures, has of course the 20mm, but it also gets 16 Spike ER missiles. So this is very powerful. For what it has. It's also part of the second line of the helicopters after the Lahatut, and the AH-60 will be able just to bring rain on a lot of people. It has thermals as well, and the Spike ERs do have guidance during the evening. It has an IRCM to keep it alive, and also stingers. So you have a lot of power on this thing. You can either bring 4 stingers plus 8 spikes, or just go full spikes and go a little bit nuts with it. Because, well, you can just annihilate everything around the place. Really powerful RWR again, really good optics, you know, very good optics. And then also the General Electric T700 GE701C engines once again. And overall, this one is just looking like a monster. The issue with stuff like the spikes from a helicopter point of view is you can literally just take off, hammer stuff. Oh, by the way, you can see the custom quantity as well for the helicopters for the fuel too. So that's also in for them, which is quite nice. But this type of vehicle is insane at, you know, dealing damage to a lot of things. You do also have the HMD as well for it, so you can see it here. It tells you all of the information that you'd want to know, which is kind of cool. But from the thermal view, let's just turn it on. I need to change my button for this one. But from the thermal view, you don't even have to lock onto targets. The spikes will do it for you. And then you can just kind of just hammer down and then just keep hitting different targets. Like, it's just nuts what you're able to do with this type of vehicle. So you can just take off, you know, let the IRCM do its work. Then you can just track all of these guys and then just hammer them as you go. And then just fire all of your missiles while screwing over with your column, so you don't have to, you know, get hit by anything. And then also just keep firing in all of the general missiles while hovering close to the ground. So you can just do so much damage with something like this. And you can see we still have missiles left even after all of this, donking everything in this setup. So with the IRCM as well, technically with the spikes you can also shoot you can also shoot you know, planes. It's probably not as easy to do, but you can see the third person look as well of the kind of spike setup now, so you can just send those off and just annihilate things. It's really powerful, this. And you know, there's been vehicles which have had access to spikes, but not 16 of them, I don't think. And since they're getting more and more spread around, they're going to do more and more damage. It is crazy to think about. And if it finally got it. Oh, that is just crazy. So yeah, Helis are pretty crazy now. It is, they have a lot of capabilities, and this is kind of showing the next stage of what's going to happen with helicopters. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Schnitzel Stroker, Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, B. Young, Opium Prime, Masonocrat, Lafouche, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.